Oh, right. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for joining us this evening. This is the Inside Out Effect podcast, and alongside me tonight is my good friend Jonathan Shaw. Good evening, Jonathan.
Good evening.
This is episode 62.
63.
And this particular,
62.
yeah,
62.
62.
Right.
And this particular episode is going to be covering phobias, fears, and loss of confidence. And so we're going to be going into that into a little bit of detail this evening. So once again, thanks for joining us. And it's been about, it's been a while now, hasn't it?
It's been a while. It's been a few months.
So we're going to be talking about phobias and fears because just recently I've been working with quite a few people who have had phobias and fears and been able to clear them. So we're going to go into detail tonight.
Yeah.
And explain what's the cause of phobias or how we get phobias and what the method is and the technique and what we can do to solve them and heal them.
Yeah.
So we're going to start. So let's bring you in, John. How you been, my friend? So it's been about a month or so since our last podcast. I've been really busy. You've been really busy.
Yeah, we've both been really busy.
Yeah. I've been really busy. Super busy.
Life's been busy.
Really
Life's
busy.
been very busy. Yeah.
So what have you been up to? What's been going on in John's world?
Life stuff really. Life stuff's getting in the way, and I'm still working hard. And I went to Portugal recently to visit my girlfriend, to surprise her.
Which was nice.
Which was nice. She was very surprised.
I know.
So I went out there for the weekend, which was lovely.
Yeah. So happy birthday, Emily, by the way. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yes, she did. She had a lovely birthday. Yes, we spent day.
Well, with you turning up, I don't know, it might put a bit of a dampener on it, actually.
No, she loved it. No, I turned up. She was very surprised.
Yeah, I know. She's probably thinking,
damn. It could have gone one. It could have gone one or two ways, but no, she was very surprised.
I know. I saw the video. It was really nice.
It was nice. Yeah. We had a lovely weekend. And
I know lots of things been going on in your world.
There's been lots of stuff going on in my world, some personal stuff and some bits and pieces, but it's also
I got injured helping.
You got injured helping. Yes, we've been busy moving my girlfriend. That was hard work.
Yeah, it was hard work.
That I haven't moved in like ages. I used to move, when I was younger. I moved like 5 or 6 people in the same year, so I was used to moving it around. This nearly killed me. I was like, having a laugh.
Good job I was in the van organising, really.
It was just, but getting the stuff out of the attic, it was just so heavy. So that, and we, from that Friday, we still spent another 2 weeks organising it after that and boxing it up, wrapping it, moving it, chucking it away. It's just moving it from place to place. But we finally got all that done, which was great.
So you've got a new episode in John's life, really, isn't it? It's sort of like
it's a new chapter in my life, moving forward in different ways. So that's good. And just been working, treating clients, and different pieces like that. There's some different clients I've been treating and different bits and pieces, and
there's a lot of different pieces and a lot of bits.
There's a lot of different pieces, a lot of bits and bits. I'm trying to think of them all. I'm trying to think of all the clients.
You've really got the audience.
I know. They're on the edge of their seat. Oh my God! I want to know more. What is it? Tell me what you do. I know. Yeah. No, I know. Sorry, I'm tired today because I've had a long weekend. So yeah,
it was all right before
I was
started.
Yeah, well, I got fed, I got watered.
You did get
fed. Now I've gone. I've sort of shut down like robot.
Yeah, you're gonna go to sleep. Good. That was good food.
No, I did actually just finish working with. Actually, was good food. It was very good stew. I did just finish working with a client who had lots of anxiety coming out of lockdown. Although she had anxiety going into lockdown, so it was kind of but she also had some body dysmorphia issues and problems with the way she looked, figure, even her face, and so she was wearing baggy clothes all the time and she couldn't get out of that, and so we just switched a lot of that off and cleared that out, and she just pretty much just finished treating and she's done absolutely amazingly well. She's all better. She's back to wearing her normal clothes again and back to going and doing the things she loves, and just being able to go out with her friends. Yeah. Which she wasn't doing. She wasn't going out with friends. She wasn't socializing. She was talking to them online, but that's all she was doing. And she went to see everybody and people couldn't get, she kept getting sick as well with it. She kept getting ill, like viral type symptoms. Yeah. Or that wasn't a virus, which would then leave her in bed. And then, so she was then stuck going around in circles with this loop of not wanting to go out, anxious, problems with her body, problems with food, and then feeling sick and unwell. And it just kept cycling. So her mum and dad were really worried. So she got recommended to me. I can't remember who by now, but got recommended to me. And then we spent about 3 months just clearing it all out, and she's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I can't think off the top of my head, but I'm sure there's been loads
You
of things.
think
but
off
I
the top
can't.
of your head?
I do sit right there. You see that spot there?
Right, well,
all the thoughts.
Yeah.
There's like a whale, and there's a little hole that opens up, and the thoughts come out the top of the head.
I think off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head I do, and sometimes it steams as well.
Is it?
If I'm thinking really hard.
Yeah.
But no. So that's so I've been doing that. But really, what's I mean, there's a lot of life stuff happening, and a lot of changes and bits and pieces. I'm moving out of my flat, and
I know.
in and out of places.
It really hurt doing that.
It really hurt.
I tumbed my knee in.
I know you did, didn't you? Yeah, we was lifting a sofa down the stairs, and it's just such a really awkward sofa.
And it's a really narrow staircase.
Narrow staircase.
Floor,
trying to get round these corners. Like, oh my god, I have no. And the irony was that when it was delivered, two guys, I can't remember how they got up. Two guys got up the stairs, obviously. But when they brought the second piece up, one guy did his back in.
Yeah.
So he actually dropped it down outside my door, and I was out there for 10 minutes. I'm thinking, what's going on? When I go out, he couldn't move. He'd done his back. I was like, actually, I'm a therapist, but he didn't believe me. Didn't know.
It was well handy because I left yours and went home, and I was sitting on the sofa, and I'm like, my knee was killing. I could, because I had to drive from yours back to Chelmsford, and I could hardly put my foot down on the accelerator, and I'm like, oh no, I don't need this, and anyway, I was like, I phoned up, I told me, Neil, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get the stuff off at the other end. Because I had to go to
back to Rayleigh, yeah.
Back to Rayleigh to get the stuff off. Anyway, I went down there, and lucky enough, we kept the stuff on, and then you fixed it for me while I was there.
Exactly, that's the beauty of it. I fixed it in the moment.
It's so good owning you as a friend sometimes. It's really good. And you can injure me, and then you can heal me straight after. It's all well handy.
Now, that's actually really important, because actually I did have one of my old clients on Saturday call me up. I mean, I was fully booked, but he called me up and said, I've just injured myself trampolining.
Yeah.
Have you got any time slots? So I put him right at the end of all the hours. It was only half hour. But he literally injured that, and then he came to me immediately. That really is the best time to do it, because if you can do it immediately, I can fix it much quicker, like you.
Yeah,
I can fix it much quicker, or start the healing process much quicker than if you leave the injury or it's been there for weeks or months, because then more damage had time to kick in. As it was, he walked in, sort of crippled, and he walked out walking fairly normally.
Yeah.
Because he had to go to work that night, and his job was driving and walking around a lot. So I mean, I don't see a lot of injuries that quickly, because people always do the hospital thing, or they do or they just go home and rest it. And I'm like, no, or just not even think it's a problem. But if you just get it treated immediately, it's much better. Having said that, not all therapists will treat an injury immediately. So because of what they've been taught.
I know, I was really worried, because I got invited to go and play football over at Billericay Town, and I was like, I haven't played for 15 years, and all of a sudden I do my knee the day before I'm going to go and play football. But lucky enough, turned up.
He was fine.
I was fine. Yeah, it's great. I struggled for a couple of days after. Couldn't get up and down the stairs for a bit. I was like an old man. But it was really good after 15 years. And I haven't been told I could never play football again.
So you mean doing football made you realise you're an old man? I could have told you that without doing football.
I didn't before I played, but then afterwards I certainly felt like an old man. Yeah.
After moving that stuff, I felt like an old man.
I woke up in the morning, I couldn't move. I was like, wow. But it was really great, because having been told by specialists after my back operation that I couldn't do it ever again, and to go out there, and I was playing at a really high level, some ex-pros and stuff. It was I really thoroughly enjoyed it, and I've been invited back. And
so again, it shows how much you've healed your back and your body, that you can actually now go and do a sport that you were told you won't be able to do.
Well, and it's on top of that, I'm also at the gym. I mean, I go to the gym three or 4 nights a week now, with my mate Mike, and I mean, he's a big guy, and he's putting me through my paces. So, I'm squatting 140, 160 kilograms. When I was told, don't only swim and go on your bike. But lucky enough, I got to work with you and learnt about, the issues that I had, which was all emotional stuff that was causing it. Once I've got rid of those emotional responses, switched them off, I'm virtually back at full health, and I'm playing football, I'm going down the gym, and, prior to that, I didn't or do anything, So my whole life's changed because of it. So I'm really, really pleased about that. And, but yeah, I had fun, but yeah.
That's one of the biggest problems when people injure themselves. They give up the sport. They get told they can't do the sport. They've got to stay away from the sport. And it's just not. If you treat it properly, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to go back to sport and start and do it again. You just got to treat the right problem. Yeah. But so many people are told to give up. It's ridiculous.
I mean, I had a girl here, Emmeline, who she did a video interview with us on Thursday. and it was a similar situation with her. She, like she said, she watched the news, got fear of death because conflict. She's got scared because of the so-called nuclear war on the news. It caused a problem in her lung. She spent 13 hours in A&E. They did tests and all the rest of it, and left her. Just said, off you go with the problem. We didn't solve the problem.
No.
She did reach out to me, and I pretty much fixed it in about an hour and a half. But that's the thing, is about getting the right treatment for the right thing. And so yeah, that was a really great. She's a real star. I've started doing Pilates as well.
Yeah, great.
With her. So she's really great. She's a really bright light, really intelligent, really smart, really lovely girl. And so I've started doing that as well. So that's sort of another addition that I'm doing in my life. So yes, I've got that going on. Football going on. Really
active,
busy.
back to being active again.
Yeah, it's great. I'm loving it. It's really, really good. So and I've had quite a few people come to me recently with what the topic we're talking about. So I mean, you're probably guys there with fear of flying.
That's the most common one.
It was the fear of flying, and there's fear of spiders.
That's probably the most common one. I don't know which is most common, but the ones that we normally see are spiders or flying. Well, I've had some weird ones in my time.
Have you? And
I've had some weird phobias as well. In fact, one of the weird ones is sitting next to me right now. He's very weird.
And I'm still a phobia.
Yeah. He scares me every time I see him.
I know.
I have tried switching it off, but he was the one switching it off, so it just frightened me even more. I've had some weird phobias and some unusual, some like rare ones. I mean, you get the common ones like the flying, but then there are some unusual ones. I think I have mentioned one of them, but I'll go into them later on.
Yeah.
But they're normally fairly simple to switch off.
Yeah, I mean,
as a general rule.
Yeah,
in my experience.
It was. Yeah, and I've had some really sad ones actually. I mean, I've had a few people that have lost people, and they've. I got to. This is funny. I mean, I found it amusing, so I'm going to share this with you. So I had a person reach out to me. She emailed me, and she said, "I've been watching your podcast. Everything you say really makes sense, and I've watched your video because I'm doing a Facebook advert which does the video of the mind and the brain. So I've watched your video, and it all really, really makes sense. Can I come and see you?" And I said, "Yeah, no problem. Go onto the website, click initial consultation, and book it." Anyway, so I sent her the email. Didn't hear anything back. So anyway, this is about two weeks ago. So I was looking for her, and I thought she didn't book, and so I just messaged her, emailed again. I said, "Look, I know you reached out to me and said you wanted to book, but I haven't heard from you. I just wanted to check, is everything okay?" And she went, "Yes." She goes, "I did think about it." I did think about booking up, but then I decided to do reflexology, have a massage, and do some meditation.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the problem hasn't gone away.
No.
And I was like, and I thought to myself, I said, "Well, you haven't really listened to our podcast then, have you, really? Because I think every podcast we say that's not going to work. But bless her, in the end, she's come to see me. She's a lovely lady, and she won't mind me saying that because we did have a chuckle about it. I said, "Well, we told you that's not going to heal the problem," which actually goes on to what we was talking about earlier, actually.
Yeah.
About the hard drive. And
it's the hard, yeah.
We're going to go into.
It's just hard. It's hardwired to believe that train of thought.
Yeah.
So to change that train of thought takes time.
Well, what's actually good is she did recognise that the reflexology and the massage and the meditation actually hadn't done anything. And
there's anything wrong with those treatments.
No. And so anyway, she's now reached up, and I managed to get rid of the whole loss thing of it.
Right.
She felt so much better after just that first session, and now she's coming back to get rid of all of the stuff that's stopping her moving forward. Because when you lose someone that you spent your whole life with, I mean, this is a long period of time. Then when that person goes, all of a sudden her life's just been tipped upside down. It's just like she doesn't know, she's lost, she doesn't know what to do moving forward, she lost all of her confidence. And again, I always say that confidence there is no such thing as confidence, it's more like competence. You only have no confidence if you're not good at something or you're not competent at something. That's what a loss of where you have no confidence is. You just don't feel competent in it. But I'm going to be helping her moving forward now. I know what she wants to do. She knows what she wants to do. She's just got these mental blocks about moving forward and taking action, because as soon as she does, she gets triggered and she's made up loads of stuff about what other people are going to think, and will other people like me, and will all those people there will go, what about, are they all married? Well, I'm single, what are they going to think? She's got all this stuff now she's made up about moving forward that I'm going to have to go in and remove all of those thoughts and those beliefs that's stopping her from moving forward. Once I've done that, I think she's a very smart lady.
Yeah.
And she's also she's not in a position where she's struggling financially, so she's got a bit of time to do that. But she's a lovely lady, and that was a lady that came and saw me. But I just found that quite interesting. That she said, I listened to your podcast. Well, you didn't really, did you? Because you hadn't done the things we said not to do. Deal with the problem, go cause and effect. But so she's been dealing with her grief, and then I've had a few people who come to me with the fear of flying. They had flight anxiety, and I've gone into that, and literally in one session I got rid of that. He had a long distance flight which he had to do, and he was absolutely fine until a few days before he went, and he came to me about that. And I'd already helped his wife, so he just reached out to me, and I just got rid of it all. And he got on plane, no problems as far as I'm aware, and all good.
That one's very common at the moment because we couldn't travel for 2 years. I'm finding that is a problem for people, so they're getting anxious or fearful of taking a journey. In that way, which we haven't been able to do for a long time.
Yeah. And
people are getting anxious and nervous. I had a client who I wasn't treating her for this, I was treating her for something else, but it came up. She was going away last week, and she was anxious about seeing the people she hadn't seen for 3 years, and anxious about the flying.
Yeah.
So I just switched that off quickly for her. But I think that's quite a common thing for people at the moment. They're going to go through anxiety or a phobic type reaction about doing the things we used to do that we don't do on a regular basis, that we haven't done for a long time, because it's like doing them again because it's now unknown. It's like, well, what's going to happen? And it's freaking people out.
Well, it will freak people out because they kept changing all of the flight stuff and tests that obviously don't test for anything, and making you do this and for some people, that's a problem. I mean, I know I had to fly my boy back to Belfast, and lucky enough, that's a inter-UK flight.
Yeah.
And I prior to that, the 2 days before I knew he was going to go, because I haven't flown obviously since the original lockdown, but because obviously I know what I know, and I know all the information about what's going on with the tech, I'm not going to back down. No. So I was getting really anxious about going to the airport and then being faced with these restrictions or what they were trying to force, masks on the plane and I'm like, I was going to fight. I'm fighting all the way because obviously I know the truth and what causes it. So I was getting anxious about the conflict that might arise when I got to the airport, having not been there. Now, lucky enough, I didn't experience any of it. Again, making up shit and believing the shit you make up.
Yes.
So it was a future thing. I was just making up stuff I thought might happen, which didn't happen. I just got on the plane, flew back, everything. But there was a lot of anxiety in the 2 or 3 days before I flew, because having not been there and done that, anxiety is a feeling attacked and powerless. So I thought I was going to get attacked.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an attack thing. And obviously I'm also attacking because I'm attacking them attacking me. So I got a little bit anxious about that, but I got there and everything was great and got on the plane and the flight was great. It flew into Belfast rather than Knock, which I normally do, and flew home. And bit of a sad day all round, really. And I just want to say thank you, because there's so many people that reached out to me the next day and the day after, just asking if I was all right. It was really, really nice that, so many lovely people just saying, I just want to know, you've had him for a month, and I just want to see if you're okay, how you're doing, how you're feeling. So you guys, thanks ever so much. I felt really loved, and your friends are,
It was lovely to see him.
It was great to see him. Yeah, it was great to see him. So, but and
for those of you who caught that when he said masks on the plane, that's actually the sequel to Snakes on the Plane. That's where the masks jump off of the face and they start killing all the passengers on the plane. It's a great movie. It's coming out in about a month's time.
Is it? I look forward to that.
You'll see the premiere of that real soon. Me and Steve directed it. It's a great movie, and at the end of it, the masks burn up in a plane crash. It's great.
So I just had Jane say hello. So we might as well say hello to Jane, because Jane's always on there. Hi Jane, how you doing? It's really good to see you, and thanks for joining us. And there's also a few other people on here. Beth said good evening. So hello Beth, and good evening to you.
Good evening. Is Beth German? Good evening.
Guten Tag.
Guten Tag. Is it? No. Hey Beth. Is that just Beth and Jane, or is that all we got
No,
tonight?
I bumped into Beth actually.
Did you?
Yeah, I bumped into. I was coming out of TK Maxx,
And you bumped into her.
and I bumped
Did you
into
fall
her. I haven't seen
over?
her for a while. It was really good to catch up with her and have a chat. And yeah, we were on the same page with a lot of things, so it's really good. She's doing really well. So it's nice to catch up with her as well. It was great. But yes, so
when you bumped into her, you were reading the same book. Is that what happened?
not quite.
War and Peace.
Yeah, I mean, I think she brought her 2 girls. I'm like, so.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, because her ex used to work for me at my web design company. So,
Okay.
so yeah, it was good to say. So, hi Beth, how you doing? Great to see you. Okay, so shall we talk about fears, phobias, and loss of confidence?
No, I'm going home.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
You've got a phobia about talking
I've
about
got a phobia
it.
about talking about it. Yeah, I've got a phobia about talking about it. I'm
Yes.
going home. I've had my stew. I've had my oranges. I'm going.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Yeah.
See you later. Off you go.
No, go on. Talk about
I'll do
phobias.
this on my own.
All right. Okay. Fair. You're
Great.
that confident now, are you?
I'm that confident. I haven't got a lot
It's all
of
about confidence. You ain't got lots of confidence. In fact, you're a bit overconfident.
No,
Well,
absolutely not.
Yeah. No. No phobias. I mean, they're not necessarily created always in the same way that we talk about. I mean, yes, it can be born out of shock and trauma, but sometimes it can just be born out of
Learned beliefs,
learned behaviour, watching your mum and dad, and or belief that your mum and dad instill in you. Doesn't mean you've had a shock about it. You just then believe that thing unconsciously.
Yeah.
It's.
I'm going to tell you another one. It's also the TV or movies.
They do it as well, yes.
And I'll tell you the reason why I know that, because as a child, I used to go out with my friend grabbing spiders and putting them in jam jars. I was like 7 or 8 years old or whatever. I'm going to get arrested now. And we used to do that as kids, right? And then I think I was about 9 or 10 years old, and there was this film called Tarantula that came out. It was on the TV.
Okay.
And anyway, what was happening is people were like climbing up the orange. There was an orange lorry, and a guy climbed up to get a frisbee, and a tarantula bit him, and then he died. And ever since that, all through my teenagers, I was absolutely petrified of spiders. And that's all because I watched the TV. And then here's another one. You know, people that would go and swim in the sea quite happily. And then they brought out the film Jaws, and then like 30% of the world crapped himself and wouldn't swim in the sea. And that's because, and I say this all the time, is that when you're watching the TV and you react and respond emotionally to what you're watching, so when you're reacting to anything emotionally, or you react to what you see on the TV, your unconscious, your hard drive stores that information as a real experience for you. It can't discern whether it's a TV program you're watching or whether you've actually done it yourself, because it's just an emotional response. So therefore, that's why people now quite a few people got scared of going in the sea of sharks. And I also had the same thing with the fear of spiders as growing up, because what I saw on the TV, my unconscious, my subconscious stored it as a real event for me, and now it goes in as a real event. So now you have a phobia or a fear of spiders, even though you haven't got it. It's sort of been put inside of you. Yeah. So that's another way of how fears and phobias can be created.
Yeah.
But generally, through my experience, it's a learnt behaviour. So, for example, if you're a child, okay, and this is why it's so important to be in the best place for your children. Because between the ages of 0 and 7, like I've said in the past, they're in a state of hypnosis. They don't really think, they're just absorbing. So basically, even though they're functioning, they're in their emotional brain. They don't really logically or critically think anything. They just accept everything it is, and everything in the environment sort of superimposed into their hard drive that creates their character and who they become. So if you've got a mother or a father who is absolutely petrified of spiders, and you've got just say, for example, just an example, you've got a 3-year-old or 2-year-old or 3-year-old child, and as soon as the mum sees the spider, she points at it, screams, freaks out, and jumps on the table. The child observing that goes, so when you see one of those things with those legs on it, when you see that, that's how you react. So the child copies the mother's response, and then over time that gets reinforced. And so now, as soon as the child does it, it's like a program that's installed. It sees it, goes, and jumps on the table. Doesn't know why, it's copied it. But then over time, the fight and flight, the fear response then gets installed into the program. So now you've sort of programmed your child to have that fear or that phobia, because it's copied the phobia and the fear of the mother and the father. It's the same with all behaviours. You'll see, that's why I say in a lot of cases, I'm just like my mum or I'm just like my dad, because what we do is between those first 7 years is we just like absorb everything as a sponge, and we adopt their actions, behaviors, language, responses, how they talk, how they act, how they behave, because they don't have a critical, the part of the brain that gives them to discern stuff and critically think and observe, going on, I'm not going to do that, hasn't even developed. That doesn't really start developing until around 7 or 8 years old. So by that time, whatever's happened in them first 7, 8 years is what they then go to do. So if you've got a fear of spiders or a fear of flying, and the other thing as well is that even though you might not display that, your language and your behaviors outside of that will also go in unconscious as well. So kids pick up things and get programmed subconsciously, even though you may not even be doing that consciously around them. So that's another reason why we can get fears and phobias. And also as well, through a past experience, you might have been in a shock, or one of my friends, I remember one of my friends telling me that he woke up in his bedroom one day and he had his nose up against the wall and he had one of them big harvester spiders literally between him and his nose. Ooh. And he woke up and saw that, and ever since then he's just been freaked out by spiders, because it's like a PTSD shock.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
So there's lots of reasons why we have these, but that's generally what happens. But the fear of flying has a little bit of a twist on it, doesn't it? Because what's actually really going on is the reason why most people will have a fear of flying. Well, there's several reasons. First of all, it could be a past experience. The guy that come to me when he was 11, he was flying on his own, or was flying to somewhere, to Paris or somewhere, and he was in a storm and the plane was shaking and jumping, had to put the seatbelts on, it was really bad, everything was falling off, and had to have an emergency landing. So that's what happened when he was 11. And now what happens is when he gets on the plane, for some reason, it's just got worse over time. It's now triggering that memory. And so now when he thinks about that, the unconscious brain goes, oh, what, flying, makes the association to the past event, opens up the file that's stored on the hard drive. So I want you to think about, shall I just go into that a little bit and explain it a little bit? So let me just explain. I know in the past we've been using language like the conscious brain, the subconscious brain, and neural pathways, and this is how we store information. But probably the best way to explain it, which is what I've been doing recently, is I just want you to think that your subconscious is like a hard drive that records everything from the time you're born to the time you die. So it records everything. It's taking everything in 365 days a year, and it's recording everything. So people go, well, I don't really remember. I don't really remember my past. I'll go, yes, you do. They go, well, I can't really remember the event, but I'll go straight in, and all of a sudden, when you open the file, it has all the information in there. But the best way to describe it is every time there's an event in your life where you energetically react to something, the energetic response stores a file on your hard drive. So let's say, for example, let's use that analogy of the guy who woke up with the spider between his nose. So all of a sudden he's seen that. He's then had a shock and had an emotional shock to that. It's freaked him out. And that energy now opens up a file called the spider file. And inside that spider file will be another 3 files, which is your fight and flight files. So we have a fight file, a runaway file, and a freeze response. No different to if you had a computer. Okay, so it's a little event, a program that runs, which was the spider file. And when it sees a spider, it will now go, okay, run the spider program, which is a fight, flight, and a runaway response. And then when you open up the fight response, there'll be all of the information in the fight response. So that will be guilt, shame, alone, anxiety, feeling attacked, feeling powerless, or beliefs. I'm going to die. Oh my God, my bedroom's not safe. Whatever it is, and then it will maybe store images or sounds. And then the same thing happens in the fight and in the runaway, the flight responses. So what happens is you've now got a program in your operating system, your brain, your daily operating system now has a little glitch in it, because the glitch is the spider glitch. And you'll just carry on as normal, doing your everyday thing based on who you are and your behaviors and actions, again, based on the programs that have been put inside of you. But then obviously when you see a spider, all of a sudden the spider files opens, and now all of those things that are in those files, the guilt, the shame, the fear, all of a sudden now comes open and now becomes into your awareness, and it's now running that program. And so now your normal operating system, your normal Windows program, is now being corrupted by a spider virus that's now come inside, and you're now in the response of that. And until that settles down, you'll go back in to being in your normal state. But as we go through life, every time that we react energetically to something and have a big shock, each time we do that, we're storing a file of that event on our hard drive that's there permanently. So I'm sorry, spiritual people, you can't just let go and move on. It's it doesn't work like that. And as many memes as you like to put out there, I love the memes, they're all really great, but actually what you're doing is keeping people stuck, because you actually have to go in to the file and delete all of the responses in them files in order for you to be able to move on. Otherwise, as soon as you're in the environment, or see the person, or see the ex, or go to the school and see a mum you've had an argument with, or whatever, it's going to open that file, and now it's going to come into your operating system, your normal daily you, and it's now going to get in the way, and you're now going to be in those responses, and those responses now drive your behaviors. So the feelings that we have drive our behaviors. So if we're behaving in a certain way, it'll be our feelings that have them, and those feelings are basically the responses that we have in our little folders that we have, that are created when we have an event in our life. So as we go through our life, every time something bad happens, or we have a conflict with a person, an event, a situation, a road accident, or something that scares us and frightens us, or we have a shock that is life-changing to us, we store that information, and those things are what now corrupt our everyday operating system. So we're born with a clear operating system, but as we go through life, all these events now start storing files and programs. And what happens is if you've got those running, you might want to say open up your Word document, but now all of a sudden you've opened up your music player, and you're going, hang on a minute, what's going on? I want to open up Word, but the music player is working. In the same way as I want to go to the shops, but I can't go to the shops now because I'm going to stay indoors. And now those events are corrupting your operating system, and they will always keep doing that because you're triggering those responses, and it's now corrupting you. So all these little events that we have throughout our life store information on our hard drive, and we need to go into our hard drive or our mind and go back and delete those. So once they're deleted, we no longer have the phobia, we no longer have the fear, the learnings, the beliefs, or anything. So that's what we're doing. We're just going back and clearing the files and the information within each file that we've stored and created in our hard drive, which is our subconscious. Have I made that clear?
You made that clear.
Great.
There is one other thing that can get stored in a hard drive, and that is, I don't talk about much on the podcast, but that is past lives. And it can be past lives or past realities. Reality might not be the exact word for it, but I'll explain one of the clients who had something weird, but it was a past. It wasn't hurt this life, but it wasn't necessarily a past life. It was a different altered reality or an altered timeline.
Yeah.
So I've got 3 examples of people who had phobias that were caused by past life experiences. And when I switched the past life off, then it erased it from the hard drive, and then they were fine. One of my clients, she had a phobia of being sick. She's only 15.
Yeah.
And she came to me and she was just frightened of throwing up. And it went, basically what came up was a memory of her being in her nan and granddad's home. And she was watching them talking about breaking up. And so we cleared that whole memory out, and she described their house absolutely perfectly, interior, everything. And when her mum came back, she said, I've described Nan, and the mum said, that's impossible, you've never been there.
Yeah.
So she'd never been to Nan and Granddad's house, but she described it perfectly.
Yeah.
So she was going back to a past life in that case, not to a past life, but to a past event that she'd never really been in. Yeah. It went back before she was born. It then got triggered by something in this life, in her world, but it went back to that. Another one of my clients, she was British in this world, in this life, went to Australia, felt really at home in Australia, came back and now felt really uncomfortable in the UK. And so almost created a phobic reaction to it. She just couldn't relax and be comfy.
I'm not surprised. I've got a phobia of the UK, to be quite honest.
Well, yeah.
I live here.
This is going way back before anything that's happened recently.
And this is happening for me right now.
It's happening right now,
yeah.
No, it's going back about 10, 15 years. But it basically came back to a past life where she was an Aborigine in a past life.
Yeah.
And when she went back to Australia, it triggered that Aboriginal response. Yeah. And then when she came back to UK, she couldn't quite relax because she was triggered that response. And the final one is the weirdest one. That's why this is a different reaction. It's not quite a past life. One of my friends in the past who was also training at the time. I didn't have DTO with any of these clients. I'm going back many years when I was doing matrix reimprinting, tapping, and theta healing. And at the time, I was on an EFT course, and I met this woman, and we became friends. She had a phobia of mannequins. Very unusual. Well, I've actually realised it's more common than you think, but it's not. It's not a common phobia switch off. No, mannequins.
Okay.
The dummies in stores.
Okay,
yeah, mannequins. It's actually it's more common than you
I've
think.
got one of
It's
them in the
actually
garage,
a problem.
actually.
Have you?
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
what you do with your girlfriends is entirely up to you.
It's not. It's sexless. It's just a mannequin.
I was not blow up Vera.
No, it's not.
Is it not?
Blow up Vera.
Blow up Vera.
So
no.
harsh.
So it's a bit
done
harsh.
anything.
No. So well, Vera's not done anything. Has she?
No, exactly.
What you put in the cupboard? What you put in the garage for?
Anyway, get on with the story.
Okay. And we tried clearing it with tapping, but that didn't work. We tried clearing it with matrix room, and that didn't work. And so we went to theta healing, and we learned theta healing purposely to clear this thing. And when I went into theta healing, it turned out, or what finally cleared it for her, it took us 8 weeks from learning theta healing to clearing. It took me 8 weeks to clear it. The final piece was that in a different reality, she was a mannequin, and now she was human. She felt powerless because she didn't have.
Do you know how crazy that sounds?
I
look at you and think you're mental. I'm turning this off.
I get it. But
this is great. This is brilliant. Tell me more, John.
But the point is,
about UFOs and aliens.
The point is, it doesn't matter whether it's true in your brain. It's only if your brain believes it.
Yeah. That's
so whether it actually happened or not is irrelevant. The point is that once I found that and switched it off, it went.
Yeah.
Now she had no idea that belief. She didn't come up with that belief. I did. That theta healing. I go into the creator and I ask what's wrong, and then they tell me. I know that sounds really weird. I get it. I don't do that, but it works with a lot of people if there's past life in the way.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, my response was, that's nuts. But when I said it to her and I cleared it, the whole thing lifted off of her. So it wasn't like she said that to me, because she didn't. That's not what she was thinking. When we were looking at past lives, we were trying to go back and find out what happened in her past life.
Yeah.
But in this case, it wasn't that. It was that she was a mannequin.
But that's a great way of describing why some people have problems. Because, for example, that might have happened when she was 2 or 1, or in role-playing games as children, and a shock can happen. You can store that information in there, but as you grow older, that information is stored in the hard drive as I'm a mannequin. But then as you grow older, you don't realise that actually that belief in there, that belief in there. So we have to be careful about what we believe, because beliefs do actually cause us problems.
She did have a memory of 4 years old when she went to a shop with the school and she saw a mannequin in the corner.
That's probably where it comes.
But we cleared that, and that didn't change it. We changed that memory, but we didn't. But she had no idea that belief existed.
Yeah,
because it's not something that your brain would necessarily connect to.
Yeah,
and it took us in that particular case. Most phobias are gone in a few weeks. Every other phobia I've ever treated, in a few weeks or a couple of hours, they're gone. But this took us 2 years to get rid of. Yeah. This affected her whole life. She couldn't go shopping. She couldn't. You have no idea how many mannequins are about. They're everywhere. So shopping, museums, castles, anywhere. Pretty much, you can go anywhere and you will see a mannequin.
They're everywhere. There's 3 places. Some more.
So that's a shop. Supermarkets. Shop. Yeah, but she struggled to go food shopping. Struggled to go clothes shopping. Couldn't go down a high street. Couldn't go to museum. Couldn't go to any old buildings.
Couldn't go to a mannequin factory.
Couldn't go to a mannequin factory. Right. Couldn't watch the movie Mannequin. I mean, it was dreadful. So she could barely go. Everywhere she went, she saw a mannequin.
I bet going clothes shopping was fun.
So it was dreadful. She couldn't do it. So what we did in the end, once we cleared it, we tested her. We actually went to Madame Tussauds to test it fully, because she wasn't totally believing it.
Otherwise she'd have been
freaked out. I tell you, seeing that Britney Spears waxwork was very traumatic. But the point is that it doesn't always happen necessarily. The energy can come from the past, further back. I know that may be new information for people. I get that. But I didn't believe it either until I experienced it for the first time with that girl who was phobia of being sick. And she came up with this memory. We had no idea it was a past memory until she spoke to her mum. Yeah. So and there's no way she would have known what was in the house.
So we just want to sort of get to the point that, like, phobias and fears are generally learned.
Yeah.
They're not. The thing that we need to get out of is thinking that our illness, our sicknesses, our anxieties, or whatever is who we are. We're born with them. That's who we are. They're just basically either learned, or it's because of something that's happened in the past. And all we need to do is go into the event where it was originally created, or the behavior, and reprogram it. So what we're going to do is we're going to reprogram the belief. We're going to reprogram the emotional responses to it, and or delete the images and replace the images. And then all of a sudden, as soon as you delete those, for example, this guy, as soon as I went into which I actually didn't finish this. I didn't finish this with the flying, because the flying is a bit different. The other thing that's really important about flying is not only with that guy did he have a previous memory of having a bit of a bad flight, but what also happens is that it's about not being in control. So what you're actually doing is you're going into a potentially death situation because you're up flying, you're off the ground, which is now all of a sudden, you know, if you come out the sky, it's pretty much game over. So you've got that running, but it's a case of not being in control. You're theoretically handing over your life and all your power over to somebody else that you can't even see now because they've shut the door and you're not allowed to go in there. You don't know who he is, who he's driving, if he's qualified or not. So all of a sudden we have all of these powerless responses. Yeah. You have all these powerless responses that now all of a sudden trigger the fear of anxiety. And so if you've gone onto a flight where you've got a fear of flying and you've experienced the flight of going on that flight, the next time you're going to go on a flight, it's going to trigger the last flight where you had the fear of flying. So now that fear of anxiety you had on that flight now gets replayed as well. So ultimately it's attacking yourself. You're attacking yourself. Oh my God, I'm going to die, because that's what anxiety is, attacking yourself. It's the three types of attack: a perceived attack, you attacking yourself, or a physical attack from somebody else. And feeling powerless, that's what causes anxiety, and that's really easy to clear. You just go to those four things, go to the memory, switch off those responses, anxiety is gone. So what we're saying is that if you're having problems with flying, it's not the flight and it's not the plane. The plane might be the trigger, or the engine might be the trigger, or sitting in the chair might be the trigger, but all it's doing is triggering you attacking yourself and the powerless responses of not being in control. You're handing control over, or not being able to control, because when you're not in control, you go into a powerless response and that triggers anxiety. Do you want to add to that?
No, that's pretty
comprehensive. So if you do have a fear of flying, just rest assured that it can actually be easily switched off. And for some people, it might take a little bit longer, but generally it will be an event or another, or maybe two, where you felt that you had a really bad flight, and it's created a fear, which causes the problem, and or it's because you're obviously not in control. And these people generally are not in control, are probably quite insecure. They like to be in control because they've got a program where in the past where they feel really insecure, and if they're not in control, something bad's going to happen, so they have to control everything. So that's the secure thing, and that's why we need to be in control of everything. So people that are generally control freaks, or generally need to be in control, it's because they're running a massive insecure program, because it's a pendulum. The opposite of being in control is because you're insecure. And so when you go to that feelings of insecurity and needing to be in control and switch them off, anxiety goes. And also those things can make us put on weight as well, and because we're holding that trauma in. So
the other thing I will say though is that apart from the trauma, you can add separate triggers, especially with flying. So the trigger could be seeing the plane, it could be seeing the air hostess, it could be hearing the plane roar, it could
just
be
thinking about flying.
Yeah, just thinking about flying. It could be the ears popping, could trigger you. The turbulence can trigger you. The guy in the tannoy speaking can trigger you. Any of these things can be separate individual triggers.
Yeah.
Which, if just clearing the memory doesn't work, you need to find the remaining trigger that's running and switch that off, and then the problem will go away.
Yeah, I mean, Bobby's just quoted this. He said that seems to goes to loads of things linked with not being in control.
Everyone at some point feels out of control of something.
Yeah.
And once you feel out of control, you then start trying to control, and then you might try and control other things in your life because you feel out of control, like your exercise, like your nutrition, and you might just try and control something to make you feel that way, but you still don't feel in control because you're trying to control it.
Yeah, because as soon as you don't feel in control, it creates the powerless response and anxiety kicks in. So that's why people like to control, because when they're not in control, they get anxious response. So if you get rid of the anxiety and the anxious responses, then you no longer need to be in control. And then the obsessive behavior that you have disappears.
Yeah. Or you might have developed a belief that you need to be in control to stop something bad from happening.
Well, that's what I had.
To protect yourself. Yeah.
I've had that. That's been a big one for me.
Yeah.
Because I had that event happen when I was like 21.
Yeah.
It's just messed me up.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've always tried to be in control. But the problem is the more you try and control something, the more the other thing's going to go the other way. You can't control everybody. You can't control people or situations or everything, because you just can't do that. You have to just let things happen naturally. And unfortunately, when you've had some really bad traumatic experiences, that can be and keep anxiety, because as soon as you let go, you're going, oh my god, I've got to come hold of it again. So it's like, and then you think, well, I need to let go, and just let go, and then you go, oh my god, I can't do it anymore, and you just keep trying to grab hold of it and trying to get control of things, and that can be really difficult in relationships with people.
And the other thing that can happen when you're trying to control is your world can shrink. So the more you try and control, the more you shrink your world down. So
Very good point.
And when you shrink your world down, you then start doing less things. You start removing friends from your life. You start not going out as much. You start not doing the things you used to do, and making your life very small and insular. And that is
because it's controllable.
You're trying to control your world by doing less things.
Yeah.
And as Steve said, actually, it just has the opposite effect. You'll never win like that. The secret is to not need to be in control. Obviously, you have to switch off the beliefs about that. But the secret is to not need to be in control at all, and just allow life to happen.
Yeah.
If you do that, you're actually much safer, believe it or not.
But in able to do that, you have to get into your past or get into your responses and remove them. Because like I said, if you've got stuff running that you can't do that, this is why you just can't let go and move on. Because as soon as you do, the thing's going to happen. You're going to get triggered. You're going to do it. You're going to go back to it again. You just can't let go. So going into those files and removing them will allow you over time to be able to go, do you know what, I'm okay with this, and let things happen. But the other thing as well was that I wanted to add is that if you're becoming insular and you're decreasing your circle, what ends up happening is you can become very alone as well. Yes. Because what you're going to do is that you're only going to trust yourself because of you're in control. And as soon as you're in control, you can only trust yourself. Everybody outside of your circle now you can't trust. And now what happens is it causes a conflict where you become alone, because you only trust yourself. It's only about you, and so now you isolate yourself. You'll isolate yourself and be alone, because everything outside of you is not in your control. And we don't like that, so we're just going to keep ourselves alone by having what we can control. And that really it doesn't bode well for growth, relationships, to build a better life, have experiences, because everything outside of you you're not in control of it. So it also can create a real bad alone response, which is can cause massive depression, because depression is caused by a loss, and that'll be a loss of life, loss of connection, loss of friendships, loss of activities, loss of love, whatever it is. So that also, the need to be in control can also at a deeper level cause depression, because of the loss of the things that you would have normally in your life. So there's another game changer, another
game changer.
Another game changer.
No, in a bad way.
In a bad way, yeah.
So I mean,
I meant a revelation. Another revelation, yeah.
So the loss of control is a loss, basically. So that it comes from feeling a loss. But you also don't want to need to be in control. So you don't want to do the opposite in this particular case.
Yeah.
So if you feel a loss of control, trying to be in control is not going to work. So even if you switch it off, you don't want to switch being in control on, because when you're trying to be in control again, you're trying to control. You just want to switch on freedom, or peace or something like that. You don't want to
just being carefree, but it doesn't really matter. You're okay with just things the way they are. I've been working recently with a young lady, and she's had loads and loads of anxious responses, and all of her anxiety comes from the needing to be in control, or control of the outcome. They need to be in control of the outcome. And so I've switched off, and since I've been switching off all of this anxiety and all these anxious responses of the need to control the outcome, her life is 180. Literally, she's gone from being in quite an oppressive environment to feeling really free and empowered, and it's a really great thing to see. But that's all of her troubles that she's been under for such a long time is because ultimately she couldn't really see what was really going on around her, because she was literally controlling it And now we've got rid of that. Her life's changed 180, and it's been a real great thing to see. And she's really growing, and now she's become stronger, and she's made some really important decisions in her life that's going to change her life, hopefully for the better, and not only better for her but for her family as well. So this need to be in control, which is what causes anxiety. So that goes on to the flying. So if you do have a fear of flying, you have a phobia about flying, it's because of that. And the good news is that both myself and John, and maybe some other therapists out there that know how to address this, all you need to do is get rid of the anxious responses, the need to, the fear of not being in control, and or past memories, and then all of a sudden or any sounds triggers like hearing the plane engine, like you said, or getting on the plane, get rid of those, and then the fear of flying goes out the window, and you can enjoy probably going and traveling, because in most cases, if you've got that running, it probably stops you from going on holiday or on long distance flights. You can probably only do an hour or an hour and a half, and really actually you could go to Greece for 8 hours and go to places that you really want to go to, but you can't because of your fear of flying. And it's the same with spiders, and also like agoraphobia, for example. All of these are all exactly the same. They're all created by the same thing. So how you would address the fear of flying would be the same way as you'd address address the fear of spiders. There'll be a memory, an event, a learned behavior that you've seen, which will just needs to go into the hard drive and remove that and delete those files off of your hard drive, rewrite the program, and then you're off and going tip top.
Have you had any more comments?
No, not yet. Evening, Vicky. Hello, Vicky. Evening. So the other thing as well is just touching on loss of confidence, because there's a lot of people that feel like they have a loss of confidence, and so maybe you want to touch on that, because I've done a lot of talking now. So can you touch on the loss of confidence? What causes a loss of confidence, or why people have a loss of confidence?
So with confidence, you can't really lose. So confidence is kind of something we're born feeling confident, and it just gets suppressed over the years. So with confidence, it's just being suppressed. You're not really losing it. It's just things are building on top of it. So most of the time with confidence, it comes down to shocks at school that builds, or you might get,
not feeling good enough in your social circle.
But if you get like 5, you have a shock, you get 5 from work, that can knock your confidence. And that shock sits on top of where you were feeling confident. It just buries it. So you then have all these memories that pop in that then build up a belief system that you can't do something, like Steve said, you're not capable,
not competent.
And then you develop. So if it is something like a skill you're doing, there's 2 parts. There's a bit where it's actual physical. Like me, I used to be a magician. There's a bit where I can do the technique. That's competence. But then the confidence is my belief in myself to be able to learn to do it. That's the confidence bit. Being confident that I could learn to do it if I choose to. But the confidence just gets knocked over time. And let's take the whole past 2 years. People have actually lost their confidence just going down to the supermarket, because it's like they've been shut in a house, and they may have had some bad experiences going to the supermarket, or bad experiences going out. Or, my client...
Well, it's a fear of attack for maybe not wearing a mask, or fear of attack for wearing a mask. I know what I've not been kind to some people. So
that's right.
Sort it out.
Yeah. But so then people lose their confidence to be able to deal with that situation, or be able to stand up for themselves, or be able to cope with the situation if something happened like that. Yeah. And so then what we do is we then feel... we feel like we're not good enough in a certain way, or our value becomes affected. We withdraw, then we feel alone, goes back to the alone response, and then we then start getting low down, anxious, and we goes around in circles. And this whole period of these 2 years has actually affected many different people in many ways, and given that loss of confidence and the anxiety response. So when we're looking at confidence, because I have treated a lot of people in the past with a lack of confidence, but really it's just they haven't lost their confidence. It's just buried under a load of shit. So if you remove all of those triggers, those memories, then your confidence actually come racing to the surface. One of the things I will say about emotions like that, like confidence, because it's not really an emotional response. Fear is an emotional response. Confidence is
a metaphysical. It's a perceptual thing.
It doesn't really exist. So because it doesn't exist, you can't lose it or get rid of it. It just sits there. So because of that, it's just getting buried. But with those sort of responses, I've lost my train of thought. I was going to say about that now.
Okay,
with,
well, just go on. You know what you're going to say?
let me continue. So with those sort of responses, you just need to remove what's on top of it, and it will come racing to the surface. That's what I'm going to say. Most people with certain things, they try and find those responses. They try and find where they've gone, or find themselves, and to get their confidence back. You don't. That's not going to work. You're going to be looking outside of you. You just need to remove what's sitting on top of it. That's all you need to do. So you know, when they say, a lot of people, they'll go through a long period of stress, like a load of shit will happen to them, very similar to Steve. They'll end up in a very stuck, lost place, and they'll think, right, I need to find myself now. I need to get my confidence back. I need to go and find who I am so I feel more confident. No, just remove the shit that you've gone through, and it will come racing to service.
Absolutely.
You don't need to go looking for it. It's already there. It's not like an emotional response. It's already sitting there. All you need to do is, once you remove it, it will come straight up.
It's deleting those files.
Just delete the files.
Deleting them files.
Because that file is still, that confidence that you have is still in there. It's still in your hard drive.
But there's another 6 files on top of experiences and crap that makes you emotionally react in a certain way, that makes you think you're not confident.
Yeah. So if you just remove the other files, confidence you can't really delete because you need confidence. You can't switch confidence off. You just switch off the things that buried it.
Yeah. So can I just point out there's 2 types. So that's confidence in being.
Yeah.
So we need to distinguish the 2 types of confidence. There's confidence in being, so being who you are, confident in being who you are. But then there's obviously the next other thing is confidence in doing. Okay. And we need to distinguish between confidence in being you and being confident in yourself, and the other element of not having confidence in doing something. And what we don't want to do, and what we want you to recognize, is there's 2 elements to that. So there's confidence in being who you are, being the person you are, and there's confidence in doing. And the problem is with the reason why, if you're not or have a lack of confidence in doing, it'll be down to 2 reasons. The first reason is because you've gone and done everything intellectually. You've read the books, you've done the courses, you've watched all the videos, and you've gone over it in your head, and you know it inside out. You know everything academically about it, but you've never done it. So now when you actually have to go out and do the thing that you need to do because you've learned it all, you now have no competence in the thing that you're doing. And now you'll have a fear and you'll have no confidence, even though you think you know it all and you've done all the academic stuff and you're all smart and intelligent, blah, blah, blah. Actually, when it comes to doing it, you're useless because you've never done it before. And this is what happens a lot in the world. This is the problem with academia. Academia is about understanding information and knowing it intellectually, to sort of, I know it, but actually it's not actually doing it. So it's really no good. You sort of need to know the intellectual stuff to be able to do what you do. But the reason why you have a lack of confidence because you've never done it. And then the more you start doing it, the more competent you get. Now you're becoming more confident because it's more about competence and not confidence. So there's two different elements to it. It's about being, confidence in being you, and confidence in what you do. Don't get the 2 confused, because if you're getting confused at I haven't got the you think, well, I can't do this job. I've learned all this, but I can't go and put that satellite dish up, or I can't do that massage. I've done all the work, but it's my confidence. No. It's not the confidence in you being you. It's the competence of you doing what it is. And when you do it a few times, you'll become, the confidence will become more of a competent thing. You'll do things as an unconscious learning. You'll know what to do. So don't get the 2 confused.
Yeah. So the only way to build competent confidence is to do it over and over and over again. You can't switch that on or off. You just have to do that thing over and over again until you know it inside out, backwards way. Steve actually did a really big thing tonight, which shows his competence, is he's actually done this with it. Begin with, he normally has a script. He hasn't done it without a script. That means his competence has gone through. He's moved forwards, and now he's so confident to do it. He doesn't need that script. So that's a good move forwards. When I was first performing as an entertainer, I would have to have a script in my head and know what I was doing and blah, blah, blah. And after a while, you just add them. You don't need to do that. So that comes naturally with practice and time. But the confidence in yourself that says, I can do this, I can learn it, I'm going to be okay, it's going to be fine, that can get blocked. And that's what you need to switch off if you want to, or switch back on again and get the crap off the top bring it back to surface so that you can then do things over and over again to become competent at them.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's just a,
it's like driving.
I was going to say driving. Exactly like driving.
Exactly like driving. You get in the car the first time, you haven't got a clue. You got someone that's shouting at you and going, do this, do that, and you're like, oh. But then after like 9th or 10th lesson, if you're not in an anxious response and you're actually relaxed and you're actually doing it, it becomes conscious learning into unconscious learning. So now when you get in the car, you don't even think about it. You turn on the key, you put it in the gear, you reverse. You're probably not even looking properly. You're just doing it, and that's the same. But when you first get in a car, because you've read all the books and you passed the theory, but then when you have to go in the car and actually do it, you can't do it. So this is the problem with academia, massive. I've got a big problem with academia for that reason, because it keeps you thinking that actually you need to go and learn something else. I don't feel confident enough to do it. I must be missing something. I need to go and learn something else. And then you go and learn something else and you go, right, now I've learned that. Now I'm going to go and do that. And you go, well, actually, I still can't do it. There must be something else I'm missing. And then what you're trying to do is you're trying to learn more information when at some point you just have to just go and do it. And this is the problem. This is like seminar junkies and people that really struggle in life with actually moving forward, is they constantly think they need to learn something else, because that thing that they need to learn is what's going to give them the confidence. That's the problem.
And that also is the reason people don't heal, because they'll go from therapist to therapist, trying to understand, trying to learn more about the body, trying to understand the mind, trying to understand all the time why they're sick, why they're diseased, why they got a problem, rather than just switch it off.
Yeah,
they're trying to learn all the time and understand why they're sick, rather than just switching off their shit. And I remind people that DTO is about unlearning shit. It's not about learning, it's about unlearning all your stuff. So you can then,
because you've made up shit and believe the shit you've made up, because the people that you think that are helping are actually filling your head up with stuff that actually isn't the cause of your effect. Your illness, your disease, your anxiety, your depression is an effect, a symptom, not a cause. And all the time you're in your symptom trying to understand it, you're taking information that's adding to the problem. And because it's not the cause. It's nothing to do with what you're eating. It's nothing to do with the exercise you're doing. It's nothing to do with your hobbies. It's nothing to do with the job. It's because if you have depression, you've got a loss conflicts running. So you can go and learn as much information as you like. You can go and walk out in nature. You can go and do all these amazing new things and new experiences that take you away and make you feel good temporarily, but you've still got it. And learning stuff isn't going to get rid of the cause. It's a cause. Get rid of the cause, there's no effect. It's the most simple thing in the world. So I try and tell people this. If you've got something, something's caused it. So get rid of the cause. There is no effect. They're symbiotically, is that the right word? Connected. You can't have one without the other. So stop trying to understand your symptom. Just realize something's caused it and get rid of the cause. There is no effect. And that's in everything in life. That could be your mental health. It could be your dating problems. It could be your communication. It could be why you can't hold a job down. It could be why you can't hold a relationship down. It could be why you don't enjoy sex shopping. It might be because you're frightened of sex shopping.
Shopping? What's sex shopping? That sounds amazing.
Doesn't matter what it is, whatever behavior you're doing, whether it's driving your car, going on a motorway, scared of driving, scared of flying, worried about spiders. Doesn't matter what it is, there'll be a cause. And when you know what causes it and get rid of it, there's no effect. It's really that simple. And I think, like my friend Emmeline, who said, you just got to want it, and it's really, really simple. You just got to choose to actually not identify with the thing that you think you have, and just literally change it.
But the most important thing she said that she learned was that the cause was her past negative traumas and memories, triggers and behaviors. That's what she learned. She actually finally got it, because that's the cause of 98% of people's problems. Just that. You don't need to look for the cause. You just need to go, right, it's a memory or trigger. I need to find that. That's it. That's all you got to do. It's a memory or trigger. Right, now I need to know what memory and trigger. Then you might need someone's guidance for that, but that's all you've got to find. Nothing else.
This is why Emmeline's a star. She's really smart, really intelligent. She's great at what she does. But when I went back and watched that video, and I asked that question, in the first session, what did you learn? And she was like, well, all of our illness, sickness and disease and our anxieties and our depressions and everything are all caused by conflicts. And most people can't get that. But what was great, she said, the stories that we tell ourselves. That's basically what it is. We have an unconscious story that we've got that actually creates that. And when we get rid of that, we come back to full health and we get better. And she's great. I mean, there's a great example of someone that's had loads of stuff go wrong, and we've just gone to the course, got rid of it. And now she's healthy and happy and amazing. She hasn't gone and changed her diet, and she isn't going walking around in the woods and praying to the moon and whatever it is people do, or going to the spa or taking up a new hobby. She's just gone, right, I'm ill, I'm not well, this is going on for me, what's caused it? And lucky enough, I mean, she got recommended to me by a friend that I know, and she was lucky enough to come and brave enough to reach out to me, and now she's not looked back.
That is brave. It's very brave you reach out to me. It's very brave.
Yeah, he's brave reaching out to me. Yeah, you want to hang around with me? No. Terrible person. No. But that was a really great example of cause and effect, and she got that. So, and that's what we're trying to do with these podcasts. So yes, if you have a fear of flying, I think we covered that. Phobias are really, really simple. It's just something that you've probably learned, or you've had a bad experience, and now it's anchored in there, and it just triggers the fear response. And or you can be out of control. You feel out of control, or you can't control it.
That's about it.
It is about
That's about it. Nothing more to say on that.
No, not really. Bit of a short one tonight.
Was it short?
Very short.
Very short.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what you got planned for the week ahead, Mr. Shaw?
The week ahead?
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm having off. I'm looking forward to that tomorrow. I'm looking forward to the day off tomorrow.
I'm sick of it, but anyway.
What? No, I'm not about that. No, I'm just having a day off to myself because I can't go anywhere anyway, do anything. So I'm going to just chill out and do what I want tomorrow. I'm not going to work. We were going to
go to the spa, weren't we?
We was. No, we was going to go rock climbing, weren't we?
Rock climbing, yeah.
We're going to go rock climbing. Yes. We're going to do it next Monday, aren't we? So I really want to do that. Yeah. I've actually been injured. So the past few weeks I've not been able to do a lot because I've actually injured my shoulder. So it's now about 95% better. So I'm starting to do a bit more exercise, and I can now. Looking forward to rock climbing. I've not done rock climbing. So
honestly, me and Rosie done it.
Yeah,
I got to tell you, it's so funny. So all super confident. Our feet went, got all the way to the top, and then you've got like these cables or belts that clip on, and you've got this thing you clip on. You climb all the way to the top, and when you get to the top, you have to push yourself off, and then the belt takes the weight of your body and then just lowers you down. Well, I flew up that first wall like old Charlie Big Nuts, and then I got to the top and I had to push myself off, and I couldn't do it.
Phobia.
Oh my God. The anxiety, I didn't trust.
No.
I didn't trust
issue.
It was a trust issue. I didn't trust. I'm like, oh my God, what if it breaks? Because they're all little kids. I'm thinking, well, they're light, but I'm like, this weight. And anyway, I pushed. Anyway, so after about the fourth attempt of trying to push myself off and holding on, and I sort of let go, and it's embarrassing. I fell all the way down and landed on my back. And I was like, right, okay, I've done that now. So the next time I climb up, now I've done that, I should be all right. I got to the top, neatly through stuff. I was like, oh my God, anxiety. My heart was pounding, my stomach felt like I was going to explode. But anyway.
See, in that case, that's a trust issue.
Yeah.
Okay, that's one of it. So we didn't mention that about phobias, but that technically is a phobia. And it's a trust issue. So it's not always cut and dry what it is.
After the fifth and sixth one, I was just like pushing myself off and abseiling down because
performance confidence. Because I've done it a few times, he started to trust,
I trusted it.
So then he was okay with it.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to seeing this man like do it. Oh my God, because I'm quite ballsy. And oh my God,
I've never done rock.
I had to stop halfway through and literally give myself 10 minutes walking around because my heart was pounding my stomach. And it wasn't the climbing that was the problem.
No, it was just the
pushing off at the top and trusting that belt to get me down. It was, I don't know how I'm going to be when I go back. It was great fun.
I'll take a video.
It certainly was.
I'll take a video and we'll play it.
I mean, I love living on the edge and pushing the boundaries and really going there. That really did it for me. Okay. Rosie was all right. He loved it.
Well, he's 11, so he's
it was great. He didn't but I was really proud of him actually. He was really good. But I can't wait to see you push yourself off the top. I actually want to see if you can get up there. That's going to be even funnier. You're going to get to the top.
I mean, if I can get up there, we shall see.
So we're going to do that next month.
So we'll do that next Monday. But for the rest of the week, I'm very busy this week. I'm treating a lot of business blocks this week.
Oh yeah,
I've got a lot of business blocks this week.
Business people that are struggling and can't make decisions.
Yeah, I've got a guy who I treat, and he wants me to treat his team, so I'm treating the team. So
where are you taking them? Climbing?
I'm going to take them out for dinner. They're all flying over from different countries.
Yeah,
and I thought I'd take them up the fish and chip shop, to be honest, and treat them.
I love that.
Yeah, I'll only
how to spoil
I know how to spoil people, I'll tell you. So no, I've been treating quite a few business blocks actually. That's a lot of what I've been doing recently. Treating business blocks and money blocks and things like that.
Yeah.
So, so I'm treating those this week, and it's busy because they're all in one week and they're all in different countries, different time zones.
Yeah.
So it's like all over the place, different time of days. So yes, I'm
That's good.
doing that this week. So that's taking up most of my week. Multinational.
Yeah.
I'm multinational.
Yeah.
Yes.
Multinational,
Yeah, worldwide. Yeah.
Worldwide.
Yeah. It was
Worldwide, John.
New Zealand and what's the other place there? In Philippines. And they're totally different time zones. Like New Zealand's like 9 or 11 hours in front, and
I did.
I get really confused on time zones.
I had a guy in Australia that I was working with, and that was a. I managed to do it. I was really first thing in the morning. He was later,
that's right. That's generally what I have to do. Yeah. So it's like, which is better than. Well, it's all right. I prefer that to working really late at night to the other way around. But but it's.
Oh, that's interesting. Good.
So,
I'm good. I'm good because it does work for people with business. As soon as I switched off people's stuff and beliefs around their businesses, all of a sudden their business takes off.
Yes, right. Yeah.
I mean, that happened with me in the first instance.
Yeah.
When I first started, I was like, I switched off some beliefs and stuff around what happened. It's just
the thing with that is a constant thing. So with business, it's a constant. You have to. Anyone in business normally has like a business coach, and you still need a mindset coach, like an athlete would, because you're constantly changing, improving, or wanting to grow in different ways and move forwards in different ways, and new blocks come up. So it's not as straightforward as just switch that off, because it's never a growing thing.
Yeah,
you always come across new blocks. Like me, when I being a therapist. When I went to write a book, and I didn't have DTO back then when I first wrote my first book, that was like, whoa, that triggered me because I thought I was stupid for a long time. So so you can have new blocks come up. So you really need someone there with you all the time or monthly to clear different blocks they come up. But I quite enjoy doing business blocks. I quite enjoy
I did. I was going fine until I had me person from the past come back and trigger all my stuff, and then I had to go work for all of that. But right now everything's really picking up nicely, and it's really great clients and doing really, really good. Everything's changing for me, like just in the last 2 months really. What changed really was so when Rubesy went back, I was in a really pretty down place for 2 or 3 days, and I haven't not seen him for 2.5 years really. Having him for that month and then flying back over and seeing Mum, spending the day with her. We had a lovely day together, coming home. It was like when I woke up the next morning, it literally felt like someone had died. It was a really empty house, and it was really. But what happened was, I was able to, whatever that brought up in me, I was able to go and switch off, and everything shifted literally from the Saturday after. And I think when you get so many people reaching out and saying, "How are you? Do you want to meet up for a coffee? I know you're really, really down. I'm thinking of you." I had so many people. That really obviously think the world of me and messaging me. That was really nice. But then after around Saturday, all of a sudden, like 3 or 4 days, everything's just been flying for me and been in a really great place. So again, it's just, sometimes we have these events brought into us to expose something that we need to work on.
If things come up, to release them and switch them off. So, if it comes up, sometimes it can feel like a bit of an onslaught if you've got a lot running. But if it comes up, it's coming up to be released and switched off so you can move forwards. You can deal with it and move forwards.
And moving forwards isn't just going out thinking, right, that doesn't exist. I'm going to take up a new hobby. Oh, I'm going to go shopping. Oh, I tell you what, let's take the kids to Adventure Island. Oh, you've got to go and do the work. You've got to go in and do that work. You have to do the work. As much as we'd all love to think that actually just sitting down and lighting some incense and doing some meditation and cooking up, taking up a cooking class, or doing a beadie necklace with your children, or taking them to Adventure Island, or starting a new job, or getting more money is the answer. Unfortunately, it isn't. And, it took me a long time to recognize that. And in order for you to be happier, to have better relationships, be more successful, you have actually got to go and do the work. Otherwise, you're just going to be in that. You'll always have that, and you'll be spending a fortune doing all of these things. As much as these things are nice to do, don't get me wrong.
No, they're lovely to do.
They're lovely to do.
For the right reason. You're not doing it to try and solve something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the point I was going to make.
Oh, okay. So did I step on your point?
You stepped on my toes.
I stepped on your toes. I thought I stepped on your point. I was like, what's going on?
Oh, well. Okay, so is that it?
That's it. I think we're done for tonight.
Are we?
Yeah, we're done. So we're going to say goodbye. Thank you very much for watching. We're glad to be back.
Yeah, it's good.
Hopefully it won't be as long this time.
Maybe not.
So we'll see. Hopefully see you in a couple of weeks. We don't know what we're talking about yet, do we?
No. Well, the reason that one come up is because I've been working on people's fear of flying. Yeah. And healing that. It only took me one session most of the time. Yeah. It's a really quick one to do.
So we could do something like body issues next time. We haven't done that, and that's a big thing for people.
Or maybe message us and ask us of a topic that you'd like us to address, or a theme you'd like us to address, and we maybe talk about that. If not, we'll come up with our own one, and we'll just force that down your throats. Right. Anyway, great.
Say, okay, right. Then we're going to give them a confidence if we do that. That'll give them a confidence.
You will listen to us tonight about this topic.
Yeah. Or you
could choose not to. That's purely up to you.
Okay.
Great. So anyway, thanks again for watching us again tonight. If you do want to work with John for physical pain or physical issues, business blocks, or any of the stuff that we've addressed earlier, mental health issues, then you can go to thedtosystem.com. Alternatively, you can deal or work with this handsome man here without the beard, and you can do business blocks. Look at me like that. If you want to work on business blocks, anything we've addressed earlier in the podcast, any physical pain, illness, disease, mental health issues, then please go to my website, healingmind.co.uk, or if you know me personally, drop me a message. I'll get back to you straight away. But other than that, we will see you on the next episode of the Inside Out Effect podcast. I've been your host, Stephen Jakes. This has been my friend, Jonathan Shaw. So good night from me.
And it's good night from him.
Great.
Good night.
Thanks a lot. Take care, everybody, and have a great week. Ciao. In broadcast.